Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Thursday, January 30th. And we had a ton of news come out late yesterday. It looks to me that we had a mixed reaction. The Microsoft earnings and the Microsoft is to the downside this morning. I think Tesla and Meta is to the upside, but both reactions on Tesla's reaction was down and then it turned around. Meta was also all over the place and it was way up and then backed off a bit. So a lot of reactions around it, but net effect, I think it was to the upside. I think the market wasn't, you could see how chop it I've got at the very end. So pretty much holding on to the gains from yesterday is kind of where I'm landing on this whole thing right now. Very volatile action in the very volatile in the aftermarket yesterday. The news coming up this morning, we have both GDP and jobless claims coming up at 8:30. We have pending home sales at 10, nat gas report at 10:30. So not necessarily a ton of news, but I think that GDP read could be interesting. I think that's the first read in the fourth quarter. So it's going to be interesting. Same with jobless claims. So news at 8:30 and 10, and nat gas at 10:30, and that's about it for news for today. But so we have also the afterthought, I would say, from the Fed meeting, what they digesting Powell's conference. Sometimes you don't get all the reactions. With the reaction we had yesterday, back and forth, pretty violently at that, but not really directional. It was just volatile. And so if we're going to get a reaction, we'll get it today. If people slept on it, thought about it, and have a different type of reaction this morning. So we'll see how that pans out. But at this point, I would say that we are in a pretty good spot to hold on to these gains. It looks like we're trading in a range right now around that 60,080 level. You can see on the F1 here, we have taken out the key area at the 6,040s. We have still to take out the 6,100 level. So that's not happening as yet. Which are trading right in that area. If this starts trading above that 6,100, I think we have a good shot at getting back into action. But the earnings season news, all stuff happening. It's a lot of cross currents out there. But I'm going to start off range bound today. I'm going to look for the reaction from the overnight, see how the day session begins and how that starts kicking in. But that's kind of the dynamic I'm coming from to see how the market really is going to start moving to the upside or where they're going to go with this. So, and I could very well see a scenario where they actually start heading lower and they're not going to be too keen on doing anything with too keen on taking this higher. Enough, plenty of cross current going on with that. Split this guy out again like that. So starting off range bound, if anything, I have a slight bias to the upside since they're trading above that 6,040s. But pretty much, I would start range bound and see if they can take out the 6,100. In which case, I start on the long side of the market. And if they take take out the 6,035 and the 40s here on the downside, I'll start thinking about the short side. So fairly tight range, but I mean, I think if they start trading below that 40 area, we have a shot at taking this lower. And if they take out the 6,100, we have a shot at maybe making a new highs. So we're right in that little twilight zone where we can tighten up the range and look for a potential directional move. So we'll see. This looks to me 1, 2, 3 big attempts to take this higher, and so far we have not been able to. Doesn't mean that we are not going to be able to take it higher now, or we may see a little bit of a pullback developing. So we're going to have to trade what we see today. Wait for the if there's any afterthought on this Fed announcement. We also have the the GDP come out. And we had the earnings from these tech stock come out yesterday. So all that stuff has to be digested this morning. Hence, a lot of cross currents. And that's why I'm starting off flat out range bound just to see, looking to sell strength, 6,100 and 6,110s. Looking to buy weakness, 6,075s, the 60s down to the 45s for rotations back up again. So fairly tight range. Below 45, one level below that is 30s, fine. look to buy against that. I think you can probably count in that the 15s as well. They've been that mode here at the 15th is where they kind of stalled on the way up. But if they start taking out the 40s and start trading below it, I think the likelihood that we're going to take this lower is pretty big. I would still be looking at buying against the 40s, 45, 40 to 45s here, the 30s, down to the 20s for rotations back up, but it's a little bit less aggressive below the 40s to get long against anything. But you never know. Sometimes you just run over the obvious edge, and then you just have to just to get you caught and then to turn it around on you. So just kind of had to look for that. All right, so starting off range bound, look to sell strength, 6100s, 6110s for rotations back down. Looking to buy weakness at the 6075s, the 60s, the 45s, 30s, maybe even down to the 25s here for rotations back up. But below 40s, I'm going to be a lot less aggressive on getting long and looking for a lot more confirmation at that point. All right, so that's where we are on the ES. I think we may be in for an interesting Thursday morning here. Looking at the let me see, there you go. Looking at the bonds and the Nasdaq, so bond market a little bit to the upside. They have been they were down here the other day, and so far yesterday was back up again, testing the highs, and we are up here against the 114 and against the 115. So now on the bond market, we are right up here against that upper edge. They take that out, I think that opens up the this whole upper area again. And we've been trying this for a bit now. So they have been up here trying to take this higher, and looks like we may finally get a shot at taking this out and trading back up towards that 116 attractor area. And that's going to take the rates down a little bit and bond prices higher, which means that I think the stock market, the likelihood that the market trades higher is probably a lot higher at that point. So looking to buy weakness at this point to get started against the 114.24 and 114.16s. Below the 16s, I'm taking off that long bias. So right now, I'm looking for them to be able to take it out, and if they can't, pretty much going to hold on to the pretty much going to reverse myself pretty quick on the bonds. Finally, but look at the Nasdaq. They were up here on the news. Tech stock earnings, Meta and Tesla looks like they reacted favorably. And Microsoft, so far as I can tell, is to the downside. Microsoft, yes, down 17. However, let me see, Tesla and where are those guys? Tesla is up 15. Meta is up 12. So both of them reacting favorably from yesterday's news. So we'll see how if the digestion is going to be they're going to digest this yesterday's news and the overnight data and be favorably moving this higher. We'll see. At this point, I'm starting off with a slight bias to the upside, same as for the ES. If they take out the 21,800, or at this point, it's going to be the 760s, I'm going to be leaning in on the long side. Above 850 before you really get confirmation though. So you have a range in between a low volume area, which could certainly be a little bit difficult to trade. I mean, this low volume area right there at the 800. It's like right now it's the 760s up to the 850s. But you can see that three-letter ledge at the 840, 850s. If that comes out, I think we are right back up in this upper area again. So expect resistance in this area. So I would look for short setups against the 670s, the 700s, 760s up to the 850s for rotations back down. Above 760s, I'm going to look into the long side or look at the long side a little bit more aggressively. It could be a nice long trade up here, but still looking for that short against the 850s. And looking to buy weakness, 600s, 570s, 520s, 470s down to the 440s. On the Nasdaq, until if they trade below that 21,500, the mode of this distribution, I'm going to keep that slight bias to the upside. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. If this starts trading below that 500 level, it's going to be here that the session lows from today and the mode of yesterday. I'm going to start thinking about the short side. Still looking to buy against these lower areas, the 470s, the 440s down to that 370s, and below 370s, bets are off at that point. So 500 is when I start taking off the long bias. And still looking to buy against these lower areas, just a little bit less aggressively. And below that 370, I think bets are off. We are heading lower at that point. So at this point today, one of those days. I mean, having overnight, which is to the upside based on some news. We had some bigger news, Fed news yesterday, and we'll see if the market's going to latch on it or if there's going to be some buying the rumor, sell the fact selling, or just some concerns about the Powell press conference. So we'll see. Days like this, sometimes you come in like this and you end up with a big down day, and that's kind of the fear I have with especially after a Fed announcement like that. If you don't have a big reaction at the time of directional, you just kind of have to wait for the next day to see if you're going to get something like that developing. Finally, oil and gold. So oil first, not much to say about oil. They're heading lower at this slow clip. So a steady grind to the downside. I think we're going to get probably a little bit more consistent action to the downside at this point. And they looks like they are right there taking out the 70s to 50s. And I'm looking for rotation back to the 60s, 69 to 70s. That's this mode here at the 70s right now, and potentially lower. I'm going to be looking at the prices down to the 30, 40s. So I'm thinking a lot lower prices on oil. It's just a matter of in which order that's going to happen. So looking to sell strength, 72 60s, 73, 73 50s for rotations back down. I think about the 73 50s, take off the long bias and go back range bound for the day session. If you want to be more aggressive, I would do that already above 73. It starts trading above that, just go back range bound and trade this range instead of looking at lower prices. And this is the difficulty with oil because it doesn't go straight down. It goes down a little bit, goes back up again. So they trade around it. So it's by any means a difficult one. But the net is going to be structurally, it is to the downside. Gold, finally, gold. We rolled that to the April expiration and it gapped up in a big way. Look at that. So it's starting off at the 27.95. We are up in all-time highs on gold at this point. So there we go. Gold way up, gap up. Look for continuation on that gap. If not, probably you can see pretty good retracement here as the day starts progressing. But at this point, I would trade it from the long side, at least to get started and see if they back below that 28.05s, the London low. I'm going to look for retracement trade and maybe even gap closure at that point. But at this point, I would start off from the long side and see if they can keep this going on the upside. So right now we're in price discovery to the upside. So probably going to be very careful trading gold. It's just in the roll first day on the new expiration, so probably still some volume to roll over, but we'll see. If this turns into a big, look at this nice rally to the upside. It's been nothing but just buy and hold kind of thing. It's been a little bit sloppy, but not necessarily a lot of rotations. You just have to get in at the pretty good on a pullback and hope you don't get shaken out of the trade. But that's kind of gold right now. Let me see here. Yeah, it's pretty steady grind to the upside. So let's see if they can hold on to that going into the day session. Alrighty, so trade gold from the long side, at least to get started, and let's see if they can hold on to this. If they start backing off and they start taking out that 28.05s, I would take off the long bias and look for more of a retracement trade back and then maybe even a gap closure at that point. All right, back to the ES. And that's kind of where we left it. Not much happening, so we got news in about 10 minutes. I'm going to go get some coffee and get ready, and then we'll see how this whole day plays out. But as I said, I always have that little concern in the back of my head. A day like this, too many cross currents going on, a little bit on the upside in the overnight. Let's see if they can hold on to these gains, or if they're going to start. Maybe we're going to see some weakness developing throughout the day here. We will see. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. I'll catch you later.